Hey guys, so I just wanted to make a video on my current thoughts of Zenless Zone Zero so far, after seeing a lot of people having pretty negative opinions so far, and I'm actually going to be on the flip side and say that I've actually been having a really good time with this game, and of course, while I don't think it's perfect by any means, I really don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be, and I think the game definitely has a lot of potential. Um, First, I think the style of the game is definitely the strongest suit of the game so far. I think, just the attention to detail in the game and everything is just very cohesive, everything just fits very well. And it's just, I haven't really played a gacha game that just made me feel so, like, welcomed into the game. Like, I'm actually interested in knowing more about the world, and I love the characters so far. I think their designs are great. And really, it's just, you know, I think that's really the best thing about the game right now. The music also bangs, it slaps. One issue I do have with the music, though, is like in combat, I think a lot of the songs are really good, but at least for me, like all the other sounds are so loud that like I can't really get hyped up and hear the music that well, because like all the sounds of the hits and everything else is just so much louder. But that just might be more on my end, possibly. Um, yeah, I think the graphics of this game are amazing. In my opinion, this is the best looking gacha game that you can play. And, I think it's a lot because of style, but the detail is also just so good. And the models just really look high quality, and, like, I think the character designs are great. Like, yeah, there's a lot of questionably aged characters, and that's, like, an issue some people have with the game, but
touch my tail.
there's also a lot of characters that are not, and I think look really good. There's some mommies. There's, I really don't think that it's just all kids. And I think, like I said, the faction idea is great. I think, like, having each character kind of have like a group that they like associate with, and like their designs are kind of, like they have similarities between them is such a good idea, I think, especially because they all still look unique in their own way. And it's just a good touch. Like, I don't really get that feeling from other games. And so, like, that's like the best parts right now, I feel like. As far as the negatives go, a lot of people are feeling pretty negatively about the combat currently, and to me, I disagree quite a bit, though I do think there are some issues with the combat. I will say that I think the biggest thing with the combat right now is they need to actually have the like enemies actually fight back and do more than 1/60th of your health bar if you get hit. I think that's really the biggest issue right now. I think people would not think the combat is as bad in this game as it is if you had to like put in a little bit of effort to play the game. Because the enemies just don't do anything to you. Even on challenge mode, they don't do anything to you. So I don't think it has to be like the hardest thing ever by any means, but challenge mode should be like a little bit tough, get it a little bit more engaging, and then the end game, make some like hologram mode and Wuthering Waves. I'll make a lot of Wuthering Waves comparisons probably because I think it's the best game to compare this to, and I know they have some differences, but I think a lot can be compared between the two. Something like hologram mode where it's like, you don't even have to opt in to do it, but like people that want to play for a challenge and like want that, like make that a possibility in endgame. Stuff like that I think is pretty important. And the thing is, like, a lot of the characters are just,
I shall follow your orders.
a lot of them feel way too beginner friendly to where they just don't really feel like they have much going on with them. A lot of these like standard five, even the standard 5 stars, a lot of the 4 stars just don't feel like they really have much going on to them. But like a character like Ellen, I think Ellen is great because she actually has a lot to her kit, and you know, if you put in the effort, you can actually like, you know, get a lot more value out of it because she actually has mechanics. She has like a way she wants to be played, and I feel like a lot of these other characters lack that, and they just need to, you know, once more these limited 5-stars come out, I think that will help a lot, and definitely if they bump up the difficulty with it. And like I think the other biggest thing that, other than like the style of the game and stuff like that, is I think the polish is the best in the gacha scene right now. I don't think there's a single game that just feels as good to play as this game. Maybe except for like Honkai Star Rail, but that's turn-based. And you know, this is if I'm talking more in like action. And you know, one issue like I had like again with the comparison to Wuthering Waves is
ready for combat.
An issue I had with that game is that the combat just did not feel that polished, and it didn't feel that punchy to me. Like in this game, when you use a move that is supposed to be heavy, that is supposed to like do a lot of damage, like you feel that. Like it feels punchy, it feels good. Wuwa just kind of didn't have that for me, and the game just feels very responsive. Like I can attack who I want to attack. Everything. And like I know some people complain about the ult animations and stuff like that. To me, I have no issue with them in this game. Like yes, they're not the flashiest, like craziest things ever, but like they look good enough and they get the job done that I don't mind it. And I kind of prefer the system that they have in this game with ultimates, where you just have one big ultimate that you're charging up instead of every single character having an ultimate. Because like in like Genshin Impact, for example, like I really don't like all the breaks and pauses that are in the combat, just because, you know, you have like 4 ults. You're like, you attack for 2, you know, you're attacking, you ult, 2-second ult animation, you swap to another character, you attack for a little bit, ult again, 2-second ult animation. Like, you know, there's just so many breaks and pauses in between it that it just doesn't, it just ruins the flow of this game. And like this game has the chain attack system where you can be like, oh, that's a pause too. And like, yeah, while it is, it's like, it's a one button decision that you make that feels very good because the polish is just so good. The attacks feel so good. It's fast and it just leads into combos like, you know, seamlessly. Like the fluidity is nice. It just leads into a combo. You do it again, leads into a combo. Like there's not really even though it's a pause, it's not really like a break in between it. It just feels like it seamlessly flows to the next attack. And I think that's a pretty good feature to it. And like I said, they just, you know, they just need to make more in-depth characters and make it a bit harder. And I think that's really the only issues with the combat right now. I think it feels absolutely great. Like another example from Wuthering Waves that I would say is like the echo system in that game. I was not a big fan of because you would use a lot of these boss echoes that you would want to use, where just like you transform into the boss and like you're just in that state for like 6 seconds, just mashing the attack button, getting like 5 attacks off, and like it just did not feel fun to use. The hits did not feel good. It just feels unresponsive because you're just stuck. You're just stuck in that animation unless you like completely cancel it and stop doing the attacks. You're just stuck there, can't move, can't do anything like that. And I don't get that feeling with this game. Like it feels responsive. It feels like I'm doing what I want to do. And like, I mean, that's like the best part about the combat right now for me. And then, you know, like TVs and stuff, a lot of people don't like TVs. To me, they're not the hugest deal ever. I understand that it's like, a lot of people want to just do the combat. A lot of people want it to just be a combat game. And while like I wish for that too, I'm not a puzzle guy. I don't care for puzzles. I play for the combat, but I feel like they've been improved to such a point where like I don't really mind them too much. Like they feel pretty short and sweet, and honestly, I don't even think they're badly designed or like not good for the game, because if you're like into puzzles and stuff like that, I don't think they're bad by any means. and like they can be so unique and have a lot of possibilities for like variety in the puzzles and stuff like that that I really haven't had an issue with them. I go, I do them, I finish them, and I'm done with it. And like I'm not the biggest fan, but I wasn't really like turned off like at all by doing them for the most part. And like the UI of the game, I've also heard some complaints with. To me, I think the UI looks very nice. I think it meshes with the theme of the game very well. I don't know, it's pretty standard gacha UI. I don't really see anything that's flawed with this UI compared to any other gacha that you've ever played. They all have a shitload of systems and just shit all over your screen with pings. Like, it's nothing new. I feel like it's just because it's new, people don't really know what they're looking at yet. One thing I will say, though, is the Internaut shit maybe could have used a bit of changing, because, like, I appreciate the... like I said, like the attention to detail in this game, like the little lore tidbits that they throw in here, I think is pretty interesting. But like, you know, there's probably a lot of people that don't know. There's a button down here, you just can click this, and it'll actually show you stuff that's actually relevant to like progression and actual like playable content that they would maybe miss because there's just flooded with all this other random lore shit in the other category. I think that's the only thing that I would maybe say could have been changed a bit. My thoughts on the story is... so, my take on story is that, especially in a gacha game, I think any game can go by this, but like, especially in a gacha game, I don't think the story needs to be good. Like, the story can be mid and it's fine. What actually matters is that the world is interesting, the characters are very likable, like you actually want to learn more about the character, you're invested in the world, and that like the presentation of the story is actually good. And I think this game definitely has that. It has the best cutscenes in any gacha, in my opinion, and like it just, you know, the manga panels and the voice acting is, I have no issues with any of the voice actors, it all sounds great. Like, I think the presentation of the story, even if the story is just so mid, I don't think it matters because the like presentation quality is so high. And like, I think Chapter 2 was an okay story. I think like, you know, towards the end it was interesting, and I just feel like that presentation really carries it and makes it a lot better. And just in general, I think the game really has a lot of potential, and I think every MiHoYo game just gets better and better after 1.0, and I don't think this game will be any different.
I have two guns, so
you know, they just need,
double the
it just depends if
accuracy.
MiHoYo actually wants to, you know, change it or not, but they just need to make combat a little bit more engaging. Like, it doesn't even have to be the hardest thing ever. That's not like what I'm saying is that it just has to be just insanely brutal or anything. No, it's just like, it just needs to be a bit more engaging. Make endgame content a bit harder for people that want to do it. Don't, you know, and like, you know, I think if people just cared and were invested a bit more into the combat, that a lot of the negativity towards this game would go away, because I think the rest of the game completely holds up. Like, if the combat was good, then everything else is already fine, in my opinion. So, like, you know, as long as they fix that, and, like, I just think it's the most polished game right now, so, like, it just feels, like, I just play it because it just feels good to play. Like, and I like the world of the game, I like the characters so far, and, like, you know, I just think it looks amazing, and it just feels fun to play. And like, yeah, to some people it might be boring because like you could just mash and do shit, but like, you know, like Ellen is fun to play. She's a good designed character. If they had more of that, made the enemies a bit harder, then I don't think people would complain about the combat. And you know, it's just kind of an unedited video of my thoughts and, you know, what I can think of at the moment, but yeah, I really think the game isn't as bad as people are making out to be right now, and I think the game's just gonna get better. I think the game should be fun right away, 100%. But you know, as long as there's like something forward to look, as long as there's something to look forward to with like endgame and stuff that might help some people. Not everyone's gonna wait till endgame, so like I think challenge mode or like something should be more engaging than it is. Especially when you have casual mode already, like just make that piss easy and then just make the challenge mode just a bit more engaging, a bit more difficult. And yeah, that's my feelings on the game so far.